Top story today, Facebook is holding its annual F8 Developers Conference in San Jose, California. There's always a nice selection of news from the event. Today's no exception. First, Facebook launched the beta version of Facebook Spaces. This is its way of merging its efforts in the social realm that everybody knows and loves, or maybe doesn't, with its efforts in virtual reality. Spaces launches on Facebook's Oculus Rift with the touch controller and allows Facebook users to communicate with friends by voice and including a virtual avatar that actually animates with full body language. Is this your future Facebook platform of choice?
I don't know. I find it incredibly creepy, actually, because he talked about the emotion engine. It humanizes your avatar by analyzing your body language, analyzing your eyeballs in real time, and then it blinks in the fashion that you might blink.
Yeah, this is the future.
I don't know. Well, I really am more curious because you are not a fan of Facebook, and yet you are a big fan of VR. So would this suck you back in to the Facebook world? I
don't know if it would. Maybe. We'll see where it develops to. Not right now. Not this early stage.
Well, it doesn't exist yet, right? Or it does.
It exists in a beta form right now.
If you have the Oculus.
If you have the
and
Oculus, it's possible that we'll be showing it off at some point on the network. I don't know about on this show, sometime in the next week or two. So I think you can actually get your hands on it and play around with it in beta form. I mean, it's interesting. Like Mark Zuckerberg first showed this off, I believe it was last year. It was a year ago. On stage, Facebook's F8. Mark Zuckerberg has made no bones about the fact that he believes that VR is the next major computing platform and that their investment in Oculus and their push behind Oculus, even though VR's demand hasn't quite met up with kind of their ambitions, like this is going to be a long-term thing the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, he said a decade.
He's willing to stick to that. And when they showed that off last year on stage, the question was, like, how early is this aspect, and are they going to develop this out for a few years before you ever end up seeing it? So I find it kind of interesting that they're going with it right now. But I think this positions Facebook to be so early on in this next phase, computing platform, if social does in fact move into the virtual space. And I think we've actually talked about some apps, at least on mobile VR, that do this. VTime is one of those apps where you can enter a virtual world and actually have a voice chat with 3 other people. And I've done that before. And yeah, it is kind of weird. It's like, on one hand, you're just having a voice call conversation with people. But on the other hand, you're immersed in this kind of world because you have the mask on and you actually see a digital representation of that person you're talking to, kind of with all the hand motions and like you say, expressions and stuff. So, but I have no doubt that that's probably part of the future. Like that'll be I don't know if it'll be the thing in the future, but it'll definitely be an avenue that people choose to go.
Well, surely, I mean, Facebook is aiming at a different audience with this, right? Like people people who love Facebook and spend a lot of their time on Facebook as opposed to people who spend a lot of time gaming. So this is sort of maybe aiming at a different group of people that might buy an Oculus. But yes, it seems very odd to like be sitting in a room with someone, whether they be like a virtual stranger. But when you think about it, is it any odder than the fact that like we communicate on Facebook sometimes with people that are really strangers, like we might have gone to 5th grade with them, or they might be like our cousin's next door neighbor, or they're not people that we really think of as someone that really has any idea what's going on in our regular life,
right? And
yet we interact with them, wish them happy birthday, or say like that's weird when you think about it too.
Yeah, although there is like there are different levels of weird, right? Because like at least on Facebook with someone that you vaguely know that maybe you went to school with or whatever, you're dropping a comment and you move on. And in the internet parlance, we're very used to doing that even with people we absolutely don't know, let's say on forums or whatever. So there's that kind of level of comfort in that regard. We're used to not knowing people well, yet still communicating with them with just text. You go into something like this, you're forced into a very personal conversation. Like you're using, like once you start using your voice and talking to that person you went to school with in 5th grade and you're not actually seeing them, but you're seeing their virtual avatar, that would be kind of weird.
Right.
Because then it's like, do I have enough to talk to you about right now?
And you use the touch too, so you could...
So you can, you
could actually poke them.
Yeah, you can do that. You can draw. You can watch 360-degree videos together, make messenger calls, take VR selfies, which they showed off last year on stage. So, anyways, there you go. Free download in early access section of Oculus Store right now if you want to check it out. Facebook also spent some time on augmented reality by showing off its new Facebook AR platform, something Zuckerberg calls the first mainstream AR platform. With AR, Zuckerberg posits that perhaps many of the things in our home, just as one example, could instead be represented virtually, that they didn't need to be there physically in the first place. Zuckerberg showed off the camera effects developer platform as well for filters a la Snapchat, that would be a good one, because the first AR platform will be using a camera, and he says not fancy glasses that augment everything we see. Like, we already have augmented reality, and it's the camera on our phone and adding dimension to that, which Snapchat's been doing for a little while now.
Right, yeah, and they they did it more today. Like, they added filters today, which kind of got, no one was really paying attention because of what Facebook was doing. I mean, the augmented reality, the camera effects platforms, what they're calling it, that is endlessly fascinating to me. I don't know why, but I enjoy taking the Snapchat selfie filters, and it just makes selfies more fun, I think.
If that didn't exist, you probably wouldn't be using Snapchat at all. So there's value there, right? It's a certain category that pulls in people that might not use the other tools inside the communication platform.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
If those did not exist, I would not be using Snapchat at all.
Yeah,
that is the truth.
So it's really good for them to have that. And to get back to what I mentioned earlier about representing things in your home that you might not actually need, which is kind of a silly thought personally, if you think about it. So what, am I going to exist in my life always wearing these goggles that are augmenting everything I see? Maybe that's the future, but that's nowhere soon. One of the examples would be like, why spend $1,000 for a big screen TV on your wall when, if you're wearing, augmented goggles, let's say, a $1 app could easily represent that, and it would be as believable. So maybe that's the future.
That was the promise of HoloLens, right?
Yeah.
Like, Netflix on your wall.
Yeah.
And what I would like is, more devices to be part of augmented reality. Like, just the Minority Report, just zhup, here's my screen, I'm typing on it.
Or maybe when we're born, there is an AR layer implanted into our eyeballs, so we don't have to wear anything extra. It's just always there.
That's smart. Let's do that. Let's do that for real
scary.
this time.
Isn't that's a Black Mirror episode? It's got to be. And if it's not, it will be.
Yeah, let's do that. I know we had to plan to do something last week. I can't even remember what it was. But let's do that. Let's implant eyeball cameras. Cool. Facebook also announced new features in its bot and messaging platform. David Marcus, the head of Facebook messaging, says the company's aim is to become the yellow pages of bots. There was much fanfare about bots last year at F8, but those of us who tried some of the offerings that they offered on stage last year were less than pleased when we found them in reality. Marcus says the growing pains are behind them and that bots are about to become mainstream. He talked about translation bots to help refugees, homework bots to help kids learn, medical bots that could help you diagnose that persistent itch you've been experiencing.
Hey.
All
Sorry.
Okay, go.
We weren't going to talk about that on this show.
Right. I think those things that he said in his PR blog post were all well and good, but I have yet to see a bot from Facebook that's that good.
Yeah, I mean, well, and they talked about it. David Marcus from Facebook admitted that calling bots a beta last year actually ended up being a very good thing because it was kind of half-baked. A lot of the AI just was poor in many of the cases. Interactions weren't very believable or kind of up to par. He now thinks that these improvements are going to move bots into the next phase. Chat extensions for one, which basically brings bots into group chats for collaboration uses, things like building a playlist together. Wow. Things like that take the emphasis off of just you interacting with a bot and the whole time wondering, like analyzing it as if it's not human enough, and more in a group setting where the bot is kind of adding substance or value to the greater conversations, becomes more of a tool, less focus on the bot itself and more on what it's doing for you. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really found myself very invested in the bot craze, but maybe that's just because it is nascent and it is still developing, and maybe it gets to a point to where it makes a whole lot more sense. But I do wonder if it's more like a generational thing. Like, is this just something I don't get because I'm not of the right generation to get it?
Yeah, I think, I don't know. What I like so far is the artificial intelligence that has like very simple answers. Like I've certainly used that. The app that we talked about on Friday, Digit, the one that helps you save money. I downloaded that. It's super helpful. Like I will, it'll just every day text me, here's the balance in your checking account. And, if I texted a emoji of an umbrella, it texts back with how much money I've saved. So it's just, there's not a person on the other end of the line, but I'm not asking, like I can say simple words. So I wouldn't necessarily call that a bot. Like we're not having a conversation, but it's like I want simple things from it and it gives me simple things back.
Yeah. I mean, and actually while we're talking about this, I mean, I fully realize like I use Google Home at home. I talk to my phone. I'm using bots. I'm just not using messaging bots, and there are maybe that's the point is that there are certain contexts where bots make more sense for some people than others. And for me, going into Facebook Messenger and thinking of that as being the place that I do these things just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So they're going to have to really build this out more and prove that to me. They're going to have to think about me.
I don't love Facebook Messenger. Like I use it to communicate with people who that's the only way that I can communicate with them, people or groups. I just don't like, I don't know, like I wouldn't say like I love being on iMessage, but I kind of do. I feel more comfortable communicating there. It's just not messy. They're not throwing all this stuff at me. I don't know. It's interesting. And like Slack, I like communicating on Slack. It feels more comfortable than Facebook Messenger. I'm purely on Facebook Messenger, not because of all the bots or because I can do like a Snapchat like filter. I don't want to do any of that stuff there. I just want to communicate and be done with it. But they want to shove all this stuff at me and I'm tired of it.
That's like the summary of technology innovation. They just want to shove all this stuff at you. Do you like it or do you not?
Yeah. Talk to the hand, Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
Both hands.
Both of them. Oof. That's when you know it's serious. Both of them. Ooh.